to the channel. People, please hit like and subscribe as you come in and view the video, because it will help me grow this channel. You have to excuse me, I feel a little bit tired. You can hear that in my voice due to the treatment of just pure harassment and the whistleblower protocol that I experience in the public and in residential situations every day. But that aside, today we're going to turn the black light onto the incident of June 2023. The man on the screen here, Valdo Calocane, they call him. He was convicted of murdering 3 people in a widely publicised event that went down in Nottingham, a city I've got a little bit of experience with myself, and the shit show what goes down there every day. But anyway, back to this guy. He was convicted of killing 3 people. He's said to have travelled from London to Nottingham, got out and just gone on this murderous rampage, we're told. So we'll look at that in the video coming up. As it says on the screen here, the narrative given is that this guy is a paranoid schizophrenic and he just went on this rampage, which is very easy to sell, and you hear it often. Look at the picture, really quite unflattering, but this is narrative building and selling we're dealing with here on the news, which is all well and good, other than the fact that my experience says completely different, as I've witnessed and researched a hell of a lot to find out how exactly these patsy style operations, yes, I'm saying patsy style operation, because he could well be guilty of this incident, but the important factor is you're not given the build-up context and preamble, which is vital to any outcoming incident, which these cases are. This is an outcome. You know, I've had very much experience ongoing with the actions that take place in public with groups of people. Funny, speaking to somebody the other day who had a family member within the military who undertook these psyop style events, because this is how a large section of the military are taught. There are whole battalions that do it. So, taking that into consideration, and the fact I have vast experience with how the charities and public services, and more importantly the people that work for them, will use applied psychology, power suggestion, NLP, to try and force outcomes and degrade a person. Really, they're trying to degrade a person, because that's how you will be able to almost predict to the day something like this would happen. And as they're dealing with a completely integrated system, from police to housing services, the small communities we live in the UK, small country, these cases are actually very easy to put together. There will be a number of mini operations going down right now, and if you watch through this video, I'll give you my deeper observation as we look at the news, how they sell the story, and the interesting details they give you to, again, sell the story. I'm going to have another look at the Nottingham stabbing incident and how the media fills the narrative after the fact.
Victims are angry at the lack of mental health care given to Calocane. At the time of the attacks, he'd stopped taking medication for his schizophrenia. He'd been detained in hospital 4 times and had even visited MI5's headquarters to ask them to stop controlling him. And they were
straight away, you've just been fed a load of rubbish there, ignoring the fact, obviously, the news is ignoring the fact that security services, police, are constantly going around the country and indeed the world, harassing people and causing these events to happen. In the wake of the lockdown, these applied sciences that have been pushed out around the charities and public services that a guy like this would come into contact with, that's obviously not going to be part of the final story.
There was a warrant out for his arrest for attacking a police officer.
Again, just filling the narrative, telling you the story to go along with.
It's our social affairs correspondent Stacey Foster on the failings.
This was the moment Valdo Calocane's killing spree finally came to an end. But what we now know is that he'd been wanted by police for 9 months.
What we also now know is nobody can be wanted for 9 months. The range of CCTV, the capabilities that police have to find anyone listening to your phone, all facts. These capabilities are liberally used in contravention of the current laws every single day.
Honest assessment is that no, I don't think that we could have done anything that would have made any difference and prevented what we now know.
These crimes, there's no action to prevent these crimes whatsoever. My experience is that you'll come up against an applied psychology that is used to deconstruct a person's character from top to bottom. It consists of relentless attacks and harassment through covert means. Again, I experience this day in, day out. Totally innocent, no reason for this to carry on, but it does. But what people don't see routinely, and people turn a blind eye to, given the number of people across society and the public who literally go to work to put these type of operations into action.
Happened on that dreadful day.
Barnaby Webber's mother says he has blood on his hands. But since recording that interview, the Assistant Chief Constable has issued a statement admitting that Nottinghamshire Police should have done more to arrest Calocane. But mental health services had also lost track of him. Calocane had been receiving treatment since 2020 for paranoid schizophrenia.
There's a long, long history of people who have these type conditions being used as guinea pigs for all kinds of horrific tests and operations across society and indeed again across the world.
In May 2021, he turned up at MI5 headquarters in London to surrender to them because he believed they were controlling him.
Which is the actions of someone who's done some investigating as to where the source of a truly psychopathic attack would come from. Again, there's many people who have full awareness of these operations that have been carried out 24 hours a day on people, on innocent people, and the sad fact is someone who's been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia is part of the campaign to discredit somebody. Again, the truly evil section of these operations right here is the people that work to discredit somebody are indeed the police and NHS.
In August, he admitted that he'd stopped taking his medication and had no intention of continuing with his treatment.
Because often the medication you were given and the treatment in private and in public that you will be given actually plays into the negative side effects that these type medications will have. Again, NHS, full knowledge of these operations going down in society, full knowledge of it.
A few days later, he assaulted a female police officer as mental health professionals tried to assess him.
You know, tough to talk on these incidents right here, but again, with my experience and experience that you can find anywhere, much more likely to be the case that the police came and escalated a situation brought about by usually a neighbour or the various victim role players who, again, they're just out on the streets ready to do this stuff.
He'd been sectioned at this hospital 4 times after becoming violent, and each time he was discharged after being deemed safe to be treated in the community.
Again, I posit the fact that there wasn't anything wrong with him, but the 24-hour agitation, sleep deprivation, you know, power suggestion, these things are used to push people to the edge, which is very much the agenda going forward in our society.
That was until he went missing. When professionals visited him at home, they were told he was no longer at that address. And questions will now be asked about how someone with such severe mental health issues was able to disappear, but also...
You're never going to hear anything other than that on the news. But again, nobody goes missing in this society right here. The ranges of surveillance technology that's, again, liberally used upon innocent people. You know, I could pull up stories right now of jilted lovers, policemen, listening in to whole families, ex-girlfriends. You know, these capabilities are being used all day, every day, illegally. And aside from illegally, there'll be situations where consent is manufactured through, again, agitation, situations being blown out of proportion in order to manufacture consent to have police in your life, you know, these mental health services, I guess. And this is the outcome, which is very much part of the plan.
Crucially, what was then done to locate him. But 3 years before what happened in Nottingham in
3 years before, this is obviously evidence of another operation, as these things won't go by one. There'll be many ops going down all over the country again. These people work in the charities that the mentally infirm people will come into contact with, homeless people, drug addicts. These people are on the easy target chopping block, and this is the result.
2020, a paranoid schizophrenic known to mental health services stabbed 8 people in Birmingham. In a strikingly similar attack, Jacob Billington was killed.
Indeed, strikingly similar. You know, it doesn't take a genius looking at how these people are treated within, again, my experience and how local councils, policing, health services. This is very much an agenda. These are agenda-driven crimes that will end up as catalysing events to somehow justify the surveillance we live under and the intrusive services that are now normal.
And his best friend, Michael Calocane, was left with life-changing injuries.
Who was already in prison. All they had to do to keep the public safe was just not moving. You know, just doing nothing would have saved Jacob's life.
Do you think the streets are safe?
1 dead in Birmingham, 3 dead in Nottingham. Clearly not.
But the thing is, the streets are not safe because of the people you are led to believe are there to keep you safe. They actually do nothing of the sort, and they never have. in all honesty. These cases have a long, long history of security services and police involvement with serial killers. There's a very, very long history of this. Given the technological capabilities of today, to me, it's just no surprise. No surprise that these things are on the rise.
All innocent victims.
Michael's mum says risk assessments are still not working to keep the public safe.
There's no appetite to keep the public safe, and this is just the truth of the matter. There's no appetite to keep the public safe. Literally scores of people will go out of their way to agitate, ostracize a person, which is in itself an applied psychology. Sleep deprivation, smear campaigns, that's what it takes to cultivate incidents like this.
You could read some of the things I've read about the person who attacked Michael. You'd just be absolutely astonished that he was allowed to be out and about. And, you know, it's not for me to do this.
Allowed to be out and about because the character of the people that run society, again, they cultivate these incidents all the time, every day. And that's just how it is. You won't find anyone speaking on it as candidly as I do, because I've survived this type of operation. And to be honest, it's made the group of criminals who are involved in it, like, pretty baffled, as I've not taken the actions that you see on your screen played out here. That's because, again, I've done a whole lot of research and analysed the people that put these plans into action. And it's my duty now to publicise it as much as I can, even with the horrors of a programme like this being meted out day in, day out.
It's for the systems and people in place. I mean, this could have happened to anybody.
Indeed, it could happen to anybody, but there are specific communities who are in charge of handing out these type programs. There are thousands and thousands of university students who are happily indoctrinated, who will go on into the jobs of these think tanks, charities and so on, which quite happily carry out these operations.
The charity Rethink says it's clear that services are struggling.
But what we do know is that the system is incredibly badly stretched. We have 1 point.
Which what these people, they hide behind these facts. The mental health crisis as we know it is being cultivated, literally fed and watered by psychological operations up and down the country, day in, day out. These things have come to light to me within the last couple of years, but again, with a little bit of digging, you see the fact that these degrees and variations of these operations have been carried out for many, many years. There's a connection between the random murders, organised crime, and the nanny state. They all come together, and when they come together, cases like this are the result. Mentally ill people, or to be honest, people who are not really in any danger mentally, will be harassed and pushed to the point where someone who doesn't have a very good mental capacity and maybe cognition, this is the way out that they would find and see. again, there's sections of society who are up for this type of treatment. You know, from local councils, charities, police, these people regularly have meetings which is supposed to be to promote the safeguarding of people, patients, and the public. But again, my investigation is it's uncovered that the complete opposite is at play. The complete opposite. I've made my own little archive of how the applied psychology works on the ground day to day. And we'll be getting into that. Again, I've not been very consistent in my content because I'm literally harassed every single day, which is part of the normal whistleblower type protocol, where somebody will be earmarked for ostracization. Again, smear campaigns is a simple science. But I've got a whole lot to uncover and put out here properly, and it's my responsibility to do that now. We'll finish this off anyway.
2 million people on community mental health waiting lists, and that pressure builds and builds and builds, and that's when those cracks tragically begin to open.
The NHS is now reviewing its processes, but what Rethink want is reform to the Mental Health Act, which the government has promised, but
the reform that they'll be looking for off the back of catalysing events like this will be for there to be no barrier to someone being labelled a problem and health professionals, inverted commas, just bursting into your life and taking you away. That's what these catalysing events, that's what they hope to catalyse. They want to grease the wheels for the state to have more and more power over the public. That's why you see GPs, like local doctors, been taken away, hours been cut. This is all off the back of the austerity that came into effect from 2008 onwards. But this is how it is, and the only thing that will help anybody who's not in the loop and very much part of the plans that put these operations into play. People are on the other side of that, people like myself. And the only way out of this is publicise the problem and make the people who will become that will end up in the crosshairs even of operations like this. The awareness, you must be armed with the awareness, what it looks like, how these plans come together, and that's what I'm here for.
so far not delivered. Stacey Foster, ITV News, Nottingham.